Welcome to Coffee Connect, everybody. I'm Roddy, I'm the host. Today we've got some great conversations. Before we get into all of that, right, there's some things that we're trying to restructure the flow of the day and stuff. So we want to talk about celebrations and announcements first. I know Jessica Morris announced yesterday, and since she's not here, I'll just announce it, that she was launching her business. And I know there's lots of questions. Dave and I were talking yesterday as far as what changed, what was the catalyst, and everything. And so hopefully we will get her back on here at some point to talk about that and maybe even lead the group in a session that talks about, what it takes to launch our own business or launch our own journeys, right? Any other celebrations or announcements across the group that we have? Yes, Amy.
I just want a celebration and gratitude to Dave Skogland. Dave, did I pronounce that right? Skogland? Anyway, he was super helpful to me last week on just some brainstorming around my business and some good discernment and wisdom from his own expertise and his own consulting. So I'm super grateful to Dave.
And thankfully, he gave you both discernment and wisdom.
Yeah.
So awesome, guys. Awesome. That's always good to hear. It's always a great time to say, hey, what did I do for other people this week? What are some things? What are some opportunities that you took to elevate or help elevate other people's lives or businesses and stuff like that? And so those are great celebrations. I appreciate you sharing that, Amy. Haritha is with us today, guys, as well, for her first time. And so, Haritha, do you want to take a second and just kind of let us know who you are, what you do, and what you're hoping to get out of the group?
Yeah. So I'm Haritha. I have just graduated last year in August. I'm a PhD graduate, and I'm currently working as a postdoctoral research associate at the University of Maryland. And I'm kind of a job seeker. I'm searching for jobs in Cincinnati, Columbus area. So I work basically as a molecular biologist, plant pathologist, or plant sciences, or sometimes some roles may be for clinical research. So I would love love to take suggestions from you to how to search for jobs in Cincinnati, or if there is any connections that you would like to connect me to. I would love to take all those.
Perfect.
And it was nice meeting all of you. Thank you, Rodney, for sending me the link.
Yeah, I've got some connections that I gotta make for you yet that are in the pharmaceutical industry here in Cincinnati, and so hopefully we can get that done.
Oh, sure.
Maybe that'll help lead you to some good things. So perfect, guys. So moving on, today's conversation really stemmed out of last week, right? We were talking about character last week, and there was a lot of rumbling about being genuine, being authentic, and integrity flew into that conversation quite a bit last week. And I thought, well, this is a good time that maybe we can dig a little bit deeper into what integrity is, like what does it mean to us, and why is it so important, and how do we utilize it, right, in helping us make decisions about things that are going on in our lives or in our businesses and in our communities and things like that, right? And so always, I think, and I think I learned this probably better from Jeff Hexter than I did from anybody. It's always a great place to start is just, let's define this, right? And we can read the words here on the screen, but tell me what integrity means to you. What do you guys feel integrity means to you? Go ahead, Amy. Yes.
Integrity to me means being honest in everything that you do, and whether it's in front of people or behind closed doors. It's just doing the right thing in privacy and in public.
Every time, right? You say in public or when you're hidden.
That's right. Most importantly, when you're hidden.
Most importantly, when you're hidden. What else? Anybody else have different? Go ahead, Dave. Yes.
One thing that somebody shared with me a while ago, it's making sure your talk matches your walk.
Yeah, that last one there, consistency between words and actions, right? And your beliefs. are huge, guys. Anything else?
Rodney, I think that the one lesson that I've learned in my life is that, integrity went from being a word when I was young to being a non-negotiable when I became older. So we either have it or we don't, and I would not willingly be a part of an organization that didn't have it.
So that's a great pinpoint, right? And one of the reasons I was so intrigued about this, guys, is Sherry and I shared. She isn't here this week, but Sherry shared. We shared, in a nuclear world, right? One of the core principles of the nuclear world is having integrity, right? And somewhere along the lines, like I think we all assumed that, like when you came into the nuclear Navy, you either had it or you didn't have it, right? And if you were in the nuclear Navy, you had it because they wouldn't let you in otherwise, right? And then somewhere along the lines, in 2000, ironically, when our recruiting efforts were the best in the military, right, in 2002, 2003, 2004, in that era somewhere along the way, somebody made a decision that they said, oh, even if these kids don't have integrity, meaning 18 and 19-year-olds that we were bringing in the military, we can teach it to them. And I'm looking at, listen, as someone who, is probably right around your guys' age, right? I'm a little bit closer anyway. I would agree. I think many of us sat there going, are you nuts? Like, one, how much effort would that actually take? Right? And two, it only takes one slip up, right? It only takes one person falling back into their old habits, and all of a sudden, the Navy's nuclear power program that has a history of 0 nuclear accidents in the 80-something years that we've been operating, now all of a sudden has one, right? I mean, and so I wanted to discuss this because I was like, surely I wasn't the only one that felt that way. And Dave and Clint just kind of confirmed, right, that was the case, right? These are tough things to think about, but hopefully as we get through this exercises today, right, we can understand it. We can definitely ingrain people around our surroundings and help the culture, have a culture of integrity, right, that may rub off on some people. But I don't think you can just outright teach what integrity is to people, right? And so we're gonna move on here, guys. Integrity versus compromise. I think so often things come into question, right, when we were in the middle of some kind of a discussion to figure out where are we going to meet in the middle, how can we meet in the middle, and how are we going to be able to meet in the middle so that Jeff still feels happy and Rodney still feels happy about the outcome or results, and that it doesn't negate anything that is important to us, right, from our beliefs. And so healthy compromise can be there, but we also have to recognize when there is unhealthy compromise, right? And I love this last phrase here. It talks about, integrity often means choosing discomfort over dishonesty, right? Anybody got examples, man, of discomfort over dishonesty? I'll tell you, it happens, and I'm going to give an example of the opposite way. Right, and everybody knows I'm in financial services, and about 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I guess it was, well, actually about 5 years ago, Wells Fargo was fined some ungodly amount of money, right, like for basically creating incentives for their agents to create an account. Right, we're going to give you a bonus if you create an account. And so it wasn't whether the client actually created the account, as long as the agent was creating an account. So they would have created an account. Shirley opens a new account with me. Now I have Shirley's data, and I can go, oh, I can go open up a second account for Shirley. I get a bonus. Look at me, right? They were incentivizing that. And so I think that's the opposite of dishonesty over discomfort, right? Because there's definitely something wrong with that picture. And then people wouldn't notice it because they could, and there had to be balances or something, right? They could move Shirley's money into there and move it back before she would even know that it was gone or that she had a second account or anything like that, right? And So I think there's examples out there all over the place. And ironically, there was, a couple people fired in that mix and stuff, but all of the people that were doing it were not fired. Right. And so there's definitely a mix there, right? Just to kind of give the example. Any other examples or stories that you have along that lines, guys?
Rodney, when I worked as a head of buying for a fairly large organization that was owned by private equity, we were prepping to go through a sale, and we had tools on rent. That was a metric that we measured. And we were having kind of a lousy year, and the CEO decided that a little adapter that hung on another piece of equipment, we were going to serialize those and then add them to the tools on rent. And it was a complete BSE scheme just to show growth when we really weren't experiencing any. And I remember sitting in the meeting, and we had another private equity group that was going to buy us, and I told the CEO that I should not be interviewed by the new incoming firm because I would tell them the truth. And I was excluded from the sales process, thankfully so. And the company that ended up buying us ended up going through a bankruptcy, not because of this, but the '08 financial meltdown, and that's what happened. But it was amazing at the levels they went to fluff up the books to make them look like we were doing well, but we weren't doing as well as they made us look, and it was terrible. So
Doing right doesn't necessarily ever mean that you're going to get a shortcut right along the way or cut time or anything like that, right? It just means that you're doing it right. Right? Is that you're doing it right. Joe, you look like you want to say something.
Nope.
Nope. All right. Well, so let's keep moving on here, right? Small group breakout. We're going to go to breakout session, guys. And I want you to just have some conversations. Introduce yourself if you don't know each other, right? And talk about what values have you had tested recently, right? I mean, we're in such a chaotic world right now, politically, right? Economically, there's all kinds of things out there that is going on. And unless you're a hermit in your room somewhere, right? You probably have experienced something that has tested your values lately. And this is one of the reasons why I had you do the values exercise. The second breakout is really going to bring some of that into fruition. The other thing I want you to answer, right, is, what questions do you ask yourself as a litmus test, right, to the questionable situations that you might be in or things that you come across to make sure that, hey, this does align or this doesn't align with who I am as a person and what I'm trying to do, right? And so feel free to screenshot that, guys. That was amazing. That was amazing. What questions you guys got? What questions are you asking yourselves? Well, let me actually, before we answer that, who had values that were recently tested?
I think in our group, there was kind of a theme of empathy was difficult, and trying to be understanding and I suffer from being direct, which is a blessing and a curse, and I'm not the only one that was expressing some of the traits in our group.
Anybody else? I think Lamar said I think in today's environment, like, everybody's values are getting tested almost daily, right, and stuff. So Ray?
What I do for a living, nobody's honest. Funds are always mismanaged. The numbers never add up. It's always a very interesting story. Once you hear what they're saying, what they show, and then you go to balance the books and check the numbers with the banking statements, and it's like, so you basically lied about everything. This is if not a daily, definitely a weekly occurrence in my field. So yeah, just interesting.
On that note, if you want to invest some money, Ray's open.
This must be a refreshing discussion for you, hanging out with people where this is important.
It is. And accountable. That's the other problem I run into a lot. No one wants to be held accountable for what they said they were going to do, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Absolutely. And I shared I think identifying where those triggers are coming from, I said, for me, Facebook tends to be a trigger because I read something and I'm like, oh my gosh, man, like, who is this person? Like, definitely not maybe the same person I thought they were when we were hanging out or we were talking and stuff. And there's just two different things there, right? And so Facebook, empathy definitely, but forgiveness has been the other one, on the other side of that. So anybody else? What questions are we asking, right? What questions are we asking as a litmus test, right, to the situations that we're putting ourselves in or what we're about to encounter? Jeff had a good one. Jeff, you want to share it?
I didn't say this, but I think it came from my kids. Is what I'm about to say kind? Does it help them? Is it true? I didn't say the kind part, but is it true? Is it kind? Does it help them? Does it help me? If it's not true, then don't say it. If it's not kind, then maybe I got to control how I say it or not say it. And if it's not going to help them or me, then there's really no reason to comment. I will often, getting back to Facebook, start composing a response and then delete what I've typed. Same thing with texts.
10 times a day. 10 times a day, right? And then I just scroll on and move on. Go ahead, Ray.
What if being mean actually helps them? Because sometimes people don't need to be coddled. It's like you've done the same thing 9 times. You don't see that you're the problem. Like,
I may not be the one to deliver the message then.
And Ray, I would call it not mean. Going back to Clint's comments, direct is not necessarily mean. Honest is not necessarily mean. The perception may be that from the person, but if your intentions were to give them cold hard facts, you're a crazy finance person, you're a drug addict, you're whatever. That's not being mean. If it's it's kind, it's factual. It's just, it hurts that person because of their perception rather than the other, if you will.
So I put a note down because I think that whole conversation of directness and versus how does that make you feel or the other person feel is probably a whole nother topic for another Coffee Connect day that we can get into to hopefully give us all some tools on how we can approach those. How are you having tough conversations, right? How are you pushing the message, right? That even though maybe that's not in your character, right? That it's well-deserved and needed on the other end. So,
Rodney, I'm reminded
yes,
to deliver truth and love, because you can deliver truth without love and you can deliver love without truth. So it's truth and love.
that might be the
bottom
title.
line is know thy audience, I guess. People are going to react differently to different tones, messages, etc. Objectively, no, it's not mean to. Honesty is not necessarily mean. How you deliver it can make people uncomfortable, I suppose. But I guess that's why management isn't for everyone. You got to be able to manage different egos, personalities, etc.
well, to Amy's point, if I have to be direct with a lady, I'll typically give a compliment first and then get to the point. I have no sympathy for men. I will give you the unfiltered truth. No sugar on it.
Here, I was about to tell you, you can tell me I look good all day, Ray, and I'll take that. I'll take that. It'll all be good. So I think there's lots of questions that we can ask ourselves, and we definitely have to come to grips with the fact that we have our values and our integrity tested day in and day out, right? And so one of the things, as we were Googling, and this kind of goes along with some of the things that Jeff was talking about, right? There's 3-question integrity test, if there was such a thing, right? Does this align with my values? I love this second one, right? Would I be proud to explain this decision publicly? Right? Would I be proud to explain if you were on the news right now explaining this decision, right?
That's the way I heard it. Would you be proud to explain this as the lead story on the 6 o'clock news?
That's exactly right, right? And then the last one there, guys, which was, will this choice, right, that I'm going to make, is it going to build or break trust? And I brought this up in our breakout, and Jeff said, breaking trust sometimes can be good, and it can be. I think you just have to know, what is this about to do for me, right? And is it the expected results that I'm wanting to get, as long as it doesn't go against your values, right? And so the next assignment here, right, we're going to do a small group breakout. I'm going to shuffle up the rooms. There's 3 scenarios that we're going to pass out, and each group is going to have a different scenario. Your job is to walk through the scenario and answer the questions that are within the scenario that I'm giving you. Let me recreate these breakout rooms. We only want 3 rooms.
That story, my mom threw those away when I was about 24 years old. Exactly.
Why do I feel like I missed something there?
I was telling a story about how when I was a kid, how I got my first job cutting the next door neighbor's grass because he had a heart attack. And I would get $2 for that. And I said, and then I could go and buy 15 packs of baseball cards. And Julie said, those would be worth a lot of money if you still had them today. I said, yeah, my mom pitched them all when I was about 24.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, ah.
That's crazy. All right, so scenario number 1 was, I don't know. Jeff?
Donation
That
dilemma.
was you guys, right?
You want me to read the donation dilemma?
Yeah, give us the summary, and then.
Right. Maria, a volunteer treasurer, notices a sponsor sent 2 $2,000 checks, one labeled duplicate copy. The sponsor hasn't noticed, and the committee decides to keep the extra funds to support an underfunded back-to-school event. Maria feels conflicted. Should she speak up or stay silent? The consensus was she should speak up. This would backfire if it ever got out. They'd lose other donors. This is, if you used your 3 questions, it wouldn't align with the value of a nonprofit organization. And you wouldn't be proud if this got out in the news, and this would definitely break trust with other donors.
That's right.
Agreed.
And some of these are obvious, but so if you would have read the whole scenario that was given, right, it said, and by the way, the entire organization voted to just deposit the money.
Oh, God.
Right. And so hopefully that would never come to play, right? Somebody would always stand up, or I would resign my position if I was that person, be like, I don't need to do this, right? I always tell my clients, I say, listen, I am going to do what's right because I would not do good in prison. Okay. I just, yeah, so it doesn't pay me to do that, right? What about the second one? What was the second scenario? That was Julie, that was you guys, Julie, Joe, and I don't know who all was with you
Family
guys.
scenario.
Yeah.
Sam and Taylor want to buy their child a tablet for a birthday but can't afford a new one. They find a refurbished one that looks new but has a minor battery issue. Sam suggests giving it as a gift without telling the child it's used. Taylor feels this uneasy. Honesty's always been important to them. And we really thought that we would tell the child it was refurbished and stuff. They should know the value of $1 and that. And for most kids, they would not care and stuff. And like, as long as it played whatever game or whatever it was on and stuff, they're just happy to get a tablet. So.
Anybody, anything different than that? Yeah, I would probably go one step further and say, hey, I'm going to buy you a used one. And when you figure out how to take care of the used one, right, maybe we'll look at buying you a new one later on or something, or you can buy your own new one when you get the opportunity, right? But for sure, I think the value of the dollar goes a long way. Anybody else? So the third group, I'll read the scenario. Clint, can you give the summary? Because these guys don't want to hear me anymore. So Jordan's a team leader at a marketing agency, faces a tight deadline and realizes the final analytics report is not ready. The person responsible is out sick. Jordan considers slightly editing last quarter's report to meet the deadline. It would take less than an hour to tweak it and the client might never notice. But Jordan feels uneasy. Would this compromise their integrity?
No.
You're muted.
Muted, Clint.
I sound best when you can't hear me. What we kind of decided was that we would sit down with a customer and explain the situation and ask for forgiveness or more time. And if there was a situation that perhaps they needed the info for a board meeting or something else, offer the solution of tweaking the other report, but really throw the ball back in their court and be completely transparent and honest with the customer. So
just in wrapping up, I think the commonality between all of those, right, guys, is integrity isn't about being perfect. And I think Amy was mentioning, truth and love. It is about staying true, right? Staying true to yourself and what you believe and the things you believe in. When you're faced with those hard choices, right, let your values lead you. Don't let the crowd lead you, for sure. Character, integrity, all of these come into play. Please continue to stay true to yourself. Go out there and change the world. All right. I love you guys.
Thanks, Rodney.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you
guys.
all.
Try
Bye,
things,
Amy.
everyone. See you next time.